go ahead and get started, even though we have some other people joining us. My name is Sharon Pearson. I am the Lorain County Mobility Manager. Thank you very much for coming to the second meeting for the Coordinated Transportation Plan rewrite. Just to refresh those of you who may be here for the first time, this is a requirement of the Ohio Department of Transportation for us to do a rewrite of the Coordinated Transportation Plan to allow funding to come into Lorain County that funds both the position for the mobility management position, but also funds vehicles that some of the organizations that are even in the room have, which are called 5310. Those 5310 vehicles primarily focus on seniors and people with disabilities, but we also are looking at helping people who are low income and the workforce as well. Also, we have our intern here, Sarah. Do you want to introduce yourself? She will be presenting a little bit today too on some of the data.
Yep, my name is Sarah Mason. I've been an intern here since about February, and I have been responsible for the survey and gathering the data that and working with the focus groups to get all of our information so that we can produce some insights and move on with our coordinated transportation plan rewrite.
All right, so I think last time somebody said that they really wanted to know who was in the room. So let's quickly kind of go around. If you can say your name and the organization that you're affiliated with, or if you're just a resident that's here. And we're glad if you're a resident that's here, I'm really excited because we really want to hear from people who maybe have to use these transportation systems here in Lorain County. So Veronica, let's start with you.
I'm Veronica Newsome. I'm one of the staff engineers in the city of Lorain.
Excuse me, Jose Santana, the Conway. Ryan Roney, United Way of Lorain County. Sanford, Washington, State Service Director, City of Lorain.
Marina Healer. Wesleyan Village. Jerry Harrison, National Federation of the Blind.
Tiffany Barker, Lorain County Transit. Giovanni Callis, the North Family Foundation.
Jared Sachet, the North Family Foundation.
Ed Carter, Kendall, and Oakwood.
Coord, they have a license on Kendall and Coord.
I'm Bill Mercado, I'm just a resident from North Ridgeville.
I'm Lynn Lapshine, Director of Office for Older Adults, City of North Ridgeville.
Jill Kensler from Flat Rock Homes.
Heather Ferguson, United Way of Greater Lorain County.
Morning, Mike Longo, Lorain County Workforce Development Agency.
Shirley Barker, resident and utilizes all of them.
Whitney Oliver, the Executive Director of the Gathering House in Lorain.
Orca Shazard, Lorain County Office on Aging.
Marlene Calco, Lorain County Office on Aging, Medical Transportation Coordinator.
We're introducing ourselves, so you say your name.
My name is Viv Simmons. I met Sharon last week at Columbia Library and we did a presentation there. She told me to come, so I'm here.
I'm Ben Gallum. I'm from the Grafton Maybe Public Library.
Israel Johnson, Workforce Supervisor for P2R Training and Resource Center, sitting in for our Executive Director, Ms. Wendy Codwell.
Melissa Beck, the North Center.
I'm Stacy Slack. I work here at United Way. I'm the Consumer Care Coordinator.
So first of all, we want to thank the Nord Family Foundation. They supported the refreshments that you see here, and also they provided transportation to some of the residents who didn't have any other way to get here. And so we're very glad to have those of you who were able to use that transportation here. And thank you to Kendall for providing that. So next, just want to let you know, we are recording this meeting. We just want to make sure to have a record of all of this. We have not, there's not a Zoom link or anything that's going out because we really, this meeting is so important because it's a rewrite that we want to make sure everybody was here in person having interaction. But it will be available on the moveloraincounty.org website under the Coordinated Transportation Plan tab. So the meeting agenda, we did the welcome and introduction. We're going to do a brief recap of the March 28th meeting, but that meeting is found on the Move Lorain County website. I'm gonna show a video, some of you have probably seen it, but what is it like to be in Lorain County if you don't have transportation? What are the struggles? There's a video by the Fund for Our Economic Future that was produced. Sarah's gonna go over the current survey information, the information we've gathered so far, along with the focus groups. And those findings to date, the information we're still gathering until July 10th, but we wanted you to have this information to use for the SWOT analysis, which we will be doing next, and we'll be asking everybody to break into groups. And then we want each of the groups to report out on those discussions. So a brief recap is, we showed a video about why transit is so bad in the US versus Europe. Just talking the different trajectories that we took and what that has caused, and the fact that transportation really is about economic development. People can't get out there if we're not moving people. That means money isn't being spent in our communities. People aren't being able to get to work. We had a presentation from ODOT representatives. My supervisor, her name is Carly Coe. She's in charge of about 40 mobility managers around the state of Ohio. And then Kiera, I was gonna say Kiera Williams, but she's with the health department.
Branch.
Kiera Branch, thank you. Kiera Branch also talked about the 5310 vehicles and talked about the fact that there's funding out there for Lorain County. We're very unique because we are a small urban center and there has been money that's been left on the table. So she was actually begging us that if you had any inclination of even a thought of applying, that you should fill out the letter of intent. So that's come and gone already. So anybody who's interested in doing that, you would have to wait till next year, but I'm very happy with what I think I've heard about the amount of people who did fill out that letter of intent. We've reviewed the past survey results from previous years, and that Sarah presented that information. And then we showed a video about what the possibility could look like when we include technology and transportation here in Lorain County. So that's what we reviewed. So now this is the video we wanted to share with, what is it like to live in Lorain County without a vehicle?
Scenario C, Lorain County and Elyria. I live in downtown Elyria. I need to get to my security job at Lorain County Community College for my 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. I can't afford a car. How do I get to work? Starting point in Elyria. I could take Lorain County Transit to work between 7:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. But I work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I usually bike 30 minutes to work, but my bike chain broke last week. I'm left with only one way to work. Walk. It takes me 1 hour and 30 minutes to walk 4.5 miles to Lorain County Community College. And by 11 p.m., it's already pitch black. Location 2 is Lorain County Community College. I need to pick up my elderly mother's prescription when I get off work at 7 a.m. Twice a week, I have a second job cleaning houses and need to be there at 9 a.m. Will I be able to pick up the prescription and make it to work on time? Location 3, the pharmacy. I walk 1 hour and 20 minutes to the pharmacy from Lorain County Community College. Will I make it to my second job on time? The last stop is the second job. I was 40 minutes late. 1 in 4 of my neighbors who are working don't have access to a vehicle. In Lorain County, more than 2,200 residents report walking to work.
So I think we have to show the sound the same. So any comments or thoughts about this video? Is this a scenario that you uncover or hear about from people?
Daily, all the time, daily, all the time, family, friends.
And then there are elderly people that can't get to necessarily, or disabled people to get to doctor appointments or places like that, because they can't drive.
Yes, so as you can see, this is a very, familiar scenario. I like to show this video because sometimes those of us who drive all the time, we just forget about the struggles that other people may have. And so that's why I think it's always important I don't want you to hear it from me, but to see it from other people or hear from other people and residents in the room or people who have to use transportation all the time about what their struggles are like. So, those are the things that we are trying to work on together, and break down some of these silos, work together to, get over these issues that we are having. So we're going to move on to Sarah. Sarah is going to present some of the current findings, and I'm going to try to see if I can get the sound working for the next video.
We don't need sound for data, so we'll be good. All right. So far, we've had 296 survey responses, which is wonderful. So that puts us at a 5.66% margin of error with a 95% confidence rate. That's our statistical relevance so far. Our goal is, I think we can hit at least 400 by July 10th. That's our minimum, but I think we can surpass that. We've also done 12 focus groups since April, so we've been busy going to all over libraries. We've done some memory cafes, knitting groups. Like, we've just been out in our community talking to everyone we possibly can. Okay, so most of our survey responses are coming from people who speak English as their primary language. 27% have an ambulatory disability. More than half of survey takers are more than 55 years old. More than half of survey takers consider themselves a person of low income. And 36% of survey takers are employed or volunteer outside of the home on a regular basis, while 44% are retired or on disability. So we have a wide range of individuals that we've collected data from. Their survey responses are anonymous. And this is kind of the population that we are targeting for our transportation information. Okay, one of the questions on our survey is, what types of private, public, or eligibility-based transportation options have you or a family member used in the past 12 months? So this is what people are already using in their day-to-day lives. Most of Lorain County residents drive. We have a vehicle of our own, or we can borrow one from a family member, and we have to drive to where we need to get to. Other options that people use primarily are biking and walking, carpooling, Ubers, Lyfts, and this is kind of a descending list, so you can see the most popular, still self-drive, all the way down. We have Medicaid and private insurance, so that's our dial-a-ride. And then fixed route, Lorain County Transit, we still do have a few routes, so people do take that as well. Where people are going when they use any type of transportation, whether that be walking or driving themselves or taking a taxi, nearly half of the survey takers live in Lorain or Elyria. So the population of our survey takers are in the very central Lorain County, Lorain and Elyria. But they're traveling all over. So these are the most popular places that people are traveling for work, school, appointments, groceries, church, general shopping, their pharmacies are Avon, Amherst, Oberlin, and then as far as Cleveland and Westlake are some of our most popular destinations so far. When asked for the top 3 most visited destinations traveled, survey takers responded that grocery shopping, medical or dental, and general shopping were their top 3 so far. And I did update this because pharmacy and work and jobs keep switching in priority. So work and pharmacy are right up there along one of the top 3 places that people need to travel to.
Very interesting about work. 5 years ago, work was like in the top 15. Now it's in the top 5 needs.
Okay. So the reasons that this is another question on our survey. Reasons that more than half of the survey takers would choose a different mode of transportation. So the options are, if they have no other option to drive, obviously they would look for another option for transportation. Or if they don't have anyone to ask, if their car breaks down and they have no other option, that's a reason that we listed. But if they had a choice, they would choose to use a different transportation option rather than self-driving if it was convenient and easy to schedule, if it would save money on gas parking fees, or if it was better for the environment. Those were our top 3 choices set by survey takers in our county. And top 3 changes that survey takers would make to public transportation options, not necessarily their car options, but public transportation options like Dial-A-Ride or Lorain County Transit or other Uber, Lyft types of transportation. If they could ride to destinations in other counties, if there was service on weekends, and if fixed route buses were available in their area or came more often. So we had about 15, I think, selections, and these came out as our top 3 things that people want to see change. So you can go on in. Yeah. Satisfaction. Question number 2 on our survey is, how satisfied are you with your mode of transportation and the options available to you right now? 61% of survey takers responded that yes, they feel that transportation options available to them are adequately meeting their needs. They're satisfied with what they have. Most common reason? They have their own car. That's great. Everybody loves having their own car. But of the 42% that responded no, they had the common complaints, and I'll read them because it's a little bit small. Services are not available at desired times. Services do not reach them or their desired destinations. Service is often late or unreliable, and service is too expensive to be useful. So those are people that commented these common complaints over and over again. Out of the 200 and some responses, these kept popping up. And some people responded, yes, they're satisfied, but had a complaint otherwise, and would actually type, yes, it's meeting my needs, but also no, here's why I don't like it. So we had a lot of mixed answers, which is kind of cool to see. What we're hearing, so this is kind of a combination of the focus groups that we've having. There's been some trends of what people are talking about, and people don't know that what transportation options they have. A lot of them don't even know that Lorain County Transit still has fixed routes. A lot of people don't know who to call or how to schedule for pickups or drop-offs for transportation. They just don't have the resources right in front of them. People are disappointed with the lack of public transportation as compared to 10, 15 years ago. So a lot of these older people remember when there was 16 bus lines and they could just go outside every 15 minutes and catch a bus to wherever they needed to go. And we're hearing that over and over. I've heard so many stories. Oh, it used to be great. We could just go wherever. We could go to the mall. We could, we could get to work. And people understand the need of transportation. They have ideas for solutions, and they're willing to get involved to see improvements. At each of our focus groups, there's been kind of a question like, okay, but what now? What's our next step here? What can we do? Can we write letters? Can we get involved somehow? So people are interested, and we're gaining momentum. Transportation has become a barrier to many for getting adequate medical care, to get to work, to get children to daycare, and just to live independently when driving is no longer an option. So there's so many different people in our population that are struggling with transportation for a multitude of reasons. It's not just medical appointments. It's not just work. they got to get their kids out. They want to go visit family. And there's some heartbreaking stories. Study shows that there's a book written by Thomas Abdallah about sustainable mass transit. And I just pulled this quote because it kind of brings everything together. Transit development has helped to increase purchasing power in the surrounding areas, increase the connectedness among different communities, increase the number of residents, which has ultimately improved education facilities, and expand the horizons of community members. So transportation touches every single aspect of our economy in Lorain County. That's it.
We're gonna have to show this video later because we can't get the sound working right now, but, does anybody want to share their experiences? Does any of this resonate with you at all? Yes.
Absolutely. At our agency, we provide, a plethora of services to those in need here in Lorain County. One in particular, although we have a amazing organization, Second Harvest Food Pantry, give plenty of location. However, getting the food to them has been the challenge. And even if they walk, having the carts and things of that nature to transport all the food that they can get is a challenge. And so what we had to do is, actually do that proxy form and deliver a lot of that food to those that are, dealing with food insecurities, and it's a lot of need out there. And so we're solving a problem with this awesome need for the food insecurities through the Second Harvest. And these pantries are, people are taking on that task of opening up pantries in their churches and in their organizations. We are even considering one, but just that transportation piece, we've had to try to come up with how do we get the food to those that are in need. And so it's that's one of the challenges. So we've taken it on ourselves to, deliver a lot of those food boxes. Working with organizations, they've been very gracious to allow us to stand in proxy and do that last minute, take the form to the client, drop the box off, have them fill it out right there, and then trust us to get it back to them so they can have their numbers they need to keep their pantries going. So that's just one of the things I'd like to highlight.
We have been finding that too. I will tell you that it's been, even though I work and live and breathe this all the time, going out to like LMHA facilities and realizing that most of them are in food deserts. And that the closest thing to them is some type of corner store that charges tons of money with no fresh foods. And that some of we were at International Plaza and we started thinking about the grocery stores. And if you don't have a car to walk that far, and even the corner store isn't that close to them to get there. And even in Oberlin, as small as Oberlin is, Walmart and Aldi is on the outskirts of town. So, there's a church right next door that provides some free meals, but they're going to the gas station. And that's what that one video, and we're hoping maybe after we do one of the first SWAT, we can try to get that going, because she really says a lot of great things. I think that is important to hear. We want you to hear directly from somebody, so it's not coming from us about what it is. And she has a car, but she sees all these things happening, and she has used transportation here in Lorain County as well. Any other comments?
Sharon,
Yes.
for our clients, we have moms and babies, and if they signed up to have the transportation take them to their doctor's appointment, and they say they're coming at 12, if they come at 11, you got to be ready. And then they have to have enough formula, because if they're dropped off at Lorain County Health and Dentistry and they're told, hey, we'll come pick you up, they need to be prepared for at least 5 hours with enough food and formula, and then not knowing really when they're going to get back home. So it's just like, because you're at their mercy. If they come to your house early, you have to be ready to run, or else they'll say, well, you're not ready. Well,
Yes.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I think people don't understand like the level of planning that goes into even with provider ed. You know, I went to an appointment at the hospital, and when I came back out, it was a couple hours later, nighttime, dark. The man was sitting there still waiting. Me being from my background, I said, are you waiting for transportation? And he started to cry, and he's like, yeah. And they had just wheeled him out into the parking lot, and he had been waiting, and because I knew what to say and how to say it, and to ask, where's your driver now? I need you to reroute somebody. I knew everything, so he was able to get picked up. But I mean, you will just sit there, and there is no other options for people. It's not like they can call their friends or family. And if they're using services because they need a vehicle that can have their power wheelchair or anything like that, you can't just expect somebody to roll up and pick that person up, you know? So it's like really you're stranded, and that's scary. You're at the mercy of people, you know?
Sherry.
With me being a low vision status, and I'm finding that the information that's out there is hard to obtain, it's difficult to understand, who to call, when to call, where to call, if you want to go a certain place. It's by word of mouth mostly that I've gotten information about how to even access the transportation services that are available. I had to go out and seek, looking on Facebook and finding your Facebook page made me aware of, this is where I need to go to find out how do I get from point A to point B. Let me see how it is to ride, with being low vision, how easy it is to just ride the transportation system. It is very difficult to none for somebody who cannot see to be able to even know where to stand to wait for the buses that are available on the transit route. Completely unavailable for somebody who cannot see. I can't imagine for anybody else to know where to go stand, how long to wait, and it's just difficult. It's very difficult. And like I say, just even knowing that, having the information to know how to access, what services can I access to go where I want to go. It's very difficult to find that, to get that information.
Well, thank you, Sherry, for saying that, because I think all of us, if we can work together to help get the information out, we do have transportation guides that we can give to you to be able to hand out to people. This is not just about the mobility management program doing this. So we need ambassadors and people out in the community helping us get the word out there as well, sharing our Facebook posts and things like that. Did you want to say?
Yeah, guys are professionals. I am a resident,
Right.
and I'm just gonna use me for an example. Last year, 2022, it was, if I could count, I probably had between 50, 75 doctor's appointments. Had COVID in January, then was in the hospital for 7 days. Long COVID after that, had heart issues, had to have a stent put in, lung issues, had to go to therapy for 5 months. Saying that because I don't drive anymore, for whatever reason, I don't drive. I gotta give props to Office Page. I don't mean to name drop.
No, let's name drop.
Absolutely excellent. Had it not been for them, I had therapy 3 times a week at the hospital. They picked me up, took me, brought me back. Back and forth, different doctors all over. Also, I had to utilize Lorain County Transit. Again, don't mean to name drop, but they make me crazy. And I can identify what the young lady was saying. You come there an hour early and you have to be ready. You get dropped off at the doctor's appointment, which means you get seen quicker. Then 20, 30 minutes later, I'm ready to go home, but I have to sit and wait for 2 hours because they give you a time that they come back and get you, which is okay. But when you get to be, I'm almost 70 years old. I'll be 69 on Sunday. So I'm elderly. Thank you. But just saying that was, just to say that being elderly, and like I was at the hospital, and I would see like 5 or 6 Lorain County Transit buses go through, not knowing that there was a specialized route that they just use that one bus, like take people to court and stuff like that. All I know is I'm old, I'm tired, I'm hurting, I'm ready to go home, but I see an empty bus go through every 5 minutes, but it ain't picking me up. So I do take exception to stuff like that, and then when I explain, why did I see so many buses go through and none of them come to get me? Well, they're on some kind of fixed route and they can only go, they're just for the downtown area. Yeah, but the downtown area ain't got old people, people with disabilities, people that can't hardly see, that can't walk, that have bad knees. So, and I keep thinking, somebody just ain't scheduling something correctly, because this is just not right. I paid taxes for 55 years, 53 years I've worked with my 68-year life. And I should not have to sit and wait, on a bus ride home for 2 or 3 hours. We have bathroom issues, there's all kind of issues. So I'm just saying, and Uber and Lyft, I try to utilize them. I yet have gotten one to come to an area to pick me up.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're not there.
Yeah,
So,
that's since the pandemic, Uber and Lyft is
They're
not
not.
as prevalent.
So like I said, I would give my props to Lorain County agent, because had not been for them, I probably wouldn't be here.
Thank you, thank you.
You're great.
Lauren, did you want to say something?
Yeah, first of all, Shirley, thank you. For the nice plug. I'm happy we were able to help. So I'll give an observation.
And this is Lauren, who's the executive director. She wasn't here to introduce herself. You want to introduce yourself? Oh, yeah, you want? Oh, yeah, you want. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So I wanted to share an observation that I made. So, for the last month or so, I had to run our transportation program on top of, the entire organization. No big deal. Very thankful for Marlene. Marlene is our new transportation coordinator. She actually was our old transportation coordinator, and now she's back. So I'm super excited to have Marlene back on my team. But what I wanted to talk about was, I did the scheduling for about a month, and what I noticed is the high anxiety. People are so anxious. They're calling me, I gotta get my ride. They're calling me 3 or 4 times in one day. And I have to check myself, because I'm like, I'm gonna get to you, please stop. But I have to check myself, because that just tells me how serious this is for these people, that they are calling me 3 or 4 times in one day. And just to hear the relief on the other end of the phone, they'll call me and say, okay, Lauren, I got 5 doctor's appointments, they start rattling off these days, and I'm like, and I'm filling them in and stuff, and just to hear the relief in their voice, oh, you can take it. But I'm not saying that to give me more money. I'm saying that because it really surprised me that it is a big deal to the people that we serve. This really is their lifeline to getting to the doctor, to wherever they're going. And I guess that I needed to almost experience that as the professional. I'm up here, and every once in a while you got to come back down here, and that really shocked me that people are that anxious and that frightened.
I mean, it could be life and death, right?
Yeah,
You can't get to work, you don't eat, you can't get to your doctors, you can die.
Lauren, I have a question. Is the technology helping? Because I know you're using technology in order to help speed up the process a little bit, because it's one thing, it's great, people get dropped off. It's that pickup that's the other stressor.
Yeah, so I mean, the pickup, we do pretty good. My rule that I've told my staff is, the number one, we gotta get them there on. That is numero uno. But it is also important we have to go back and get them. Yeah. The whole thing is that if people have to wait 30 to 45 minutes for us to come back and get them, that's an acceptable time frame. We have to just be realistic. But to answer your question, I'm just gonna be really honest. I didn't mess around with the technology because I was trying to survive. But I have played with it. Yes, Marlene has seen it, and we're gonna start actually getting into it. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's good. Technology absolutely is going to help us with our scheduling, but I'm just gonna be honest, I was just trying to survive the last month.
Yeah, I get that. Okay. All right, yes.
I just wanna address something on the back end in reference to scheduling. And I field a lot of phone calls, I'm with Lorain County Transit, so I get calls day in and day out. People that need to schedule dial ride services. And I am totally aware of everyone's frustrations about getting on the calendar to go to their appointments. And then the wait time for the return pickup. But the flip side to that is, on that return pickup, there is an extended time as far as when you can be picked up, but the reason for that is we're trying to accommodate as many people as we can on a daily route to get them to those appointments. We have our own challenges with staffing and with busing, so is it the best option available or the best service that we can provide? Today, no. Will it be in the future going forward? Absolutely. But we have our own struggles and we're doing, what we can to accommodate as many people as we can on every day.
And Tiffany, thank
So
you.
good. When we call you guys are so nice.
Tiffany, thank you for saying that, because this is not a bashing about Lorain County Transit. No, and I want to make sure that that's clear, that this is about how do we supplement with maybe some of the federal vehicles that are existing out there that organizations have to supplement and help. And then the technology piece, I think, is also important, because I think with the technology piece, you're able to use that to get more people on a vehicle at one time going in the same direction.
There are so many challenges.
And so that's what we're here for. It's not, I think, the first thing that comes to mind is, transit, but there are other options out there, and how can we all work together using all of those options out there? I saw a hand over here. Yes.
Yes, just a testimonial for LCT, since we're talking about LCT as an agency. We will, some of our clients that come in, they're looking for employment for the first 7 days. We have vehicles, we transport them, and then what? LCT, we called them. Young man, was working in Avon, living at the Haven Center. LCT was gracious enough to, have an availability, $9 each way. We, helped him out. He took his first paycheck. He made it happen. They took him to work, back to the Haven Center, until he was able to purchase his own vehicle. And now he's getting to work on his own because he was able to utilize the LCT. So that's just some good stuff about that.
Thank you. We don't get a lot of time.
Yeah, just a good.
Well, when did the answer that? Forget it.
I will very quickly add, no, I've always had great luck with you guys, if there's a situation that comes into our office and I call, usually it's Pam, but sometimes I get Tiffany, they're always wonderful. So I want to second that. This is not and I know Sharon, this is not a bashing on VP. They're great, but they have challenges just like all the rest of us do. So the conversation needs to be about how we rise above those challenges.
Right. I mean, yes.
Yeah, I would like to appreciate the Lorain County Mobility Management team for doing all the great work that they're doing currently. But for any county or any city to grow, the public bus rapid transport system is the main lifeline. So do we have any plans to integrate the Cleveland RTA with the Lorain County thing? So I mean, because I see many people are raising here about the issues with attending the doctor's appointments and all that stuff. Along with that, there is I would like to bring up one more scenario where the young millennials, they want they need to do the public rapid transport commute to get to their employment opportunities and all that stuff every day. It's not like we can call the LTC we need a ride or something like that until we get a transfer or something like that. So the main issue that when I spoke to you last month, the main issue that you raised is there are some difficulties between the two county integration. But in the last 2 weeks, I mean, we have seen that Cleveland RTA is integrating with Summit County thing to get access towards that Macedonia and a couple of other cities. Is it any way that is there anything that our team is doing any work to integrate the Cleveland RTA with our Lorain thing? So.
There are discussions going on about that need, because as Sarah showed in her data, that's a request that's starting to be made of that access to Cleveland. Part of that is because there are some medical procedures that are all being that are all in Cleveland. And that's very costly. My understanding, $200 to $1,000 round trip for somebody to be able to go over in Cleveland without that transportation. So there are conversations that we are having. There's a lot of conversations in North Ridgeville because Lorain County Community College, I understand, is also very interested because the bus 55 just stops on the other side of the highway. From Cleveland RTA stops there. So there is a discussion. There are discussions going on.
So after I met with you, I also met with the mayor of North Ridgeville and gave my research, whatever I shared it with you. And he said that he will look into it and all that stuff. So maybe like it might be useful.
So we probably should go ahead and move on to the SWOT analysis. What's that? Oh,
papers?
but the next screen too.
Oh, sorry.
Cursor on that screen. Okay. So what we're gonna wanna do is go through each of the areas. I'm gonna go ahead and have you lead this.
Okay. All right.
And I'm gonna try to fix that.
Okay. So a SWOT analysis is basically, we're gonna work in small groups here. So I think that would be 8. I think if we do 4 tables, is that too many? Should we just do 2? Hello?
Well, you know what, I forgot about this. Before you do the SWOT analysis, I think it's important for us to go over what the past 5-year goals are, because what we're trying to look at is, should some of these goals, should we continue to have them? Or do we need to develop new goals? Now, we want to come up with a list. I don't care how many, because at the next meeting, we're going to start whittling down to 5. But these were the past goals, and keep in mind some of the data that Sarah presented. It was to increase awareness of transportation options. We still hear that that's a problem. Developing and implementing the mobility management program. That's kind of done. There's portions of this goal that we are continuing on in the job description for the mobility manager, so that's not going to be lost. But for the most part, we feel that this is done. Explore data collection and planning synergies. How can we begin to work together? Coordinate educational training programs. I wish I could, hopefully we can share with you this video from this lady who lives in Elyria, talking about the education needs that are still out there. And then exploring transportation pilot projects. We've run a couple of pilot projects with senior facilities and also with workforce and things like that. Do we need to continue to, work on any of these goals? So I wanted to have you keep that in mind as you're going through the SWOT analysis. Next. Okay.
Okay, so SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Thank you.
Not opportunities, but, equipment, I guess you want to say, that we do have, like ways that we can solve transportation issues. And then also good relationships between the different organizations, having these community meetings, having these coalitions. We see that as strengths that other communities may not have.
All right, we have highlighted LCT. We do have limited transportation in the area. We are glad for that. We have Provider Ride and Dollar Ride. We have bike lanes, electric scooters. We have senior ride services, but limited for medical and shopping. We have agencies that are in the area that will give limited transportation to their clients. We highlighted a few of the agencies. North Center, we even mentioned Office of Aging. I've highlighted my agency. We help with transportation with our clients, and then we also highlighted. Oh, I'm sorry. We highlighted services that will help people get their vehicles repaired as well as purchase vehicles like PRC through Lorain County Job and Family Services and the Lorain County Community Action Agency's Buy Car program.
See, we did have awesome things happening. Okay.
One of the strengths that you have right now in the room is you have, local government, county government, private industry, and nonprofits finally talking and trying to coordinate their efforts, as opposed to living in silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the strengths we identified is that there's a past system, so Lorain County Transit used to have like 16 bus routes.
Yeah.
And so that there's already been a system in place before, it's more so just trying to see why that stopped.
Okay.
Okay, our group came up with just, one of the strengths was that there are plenty of vehicles available to, transport, on, in, whatever. Also, we came up with, it's a good idea that, like one gentleman was saying, our community leaders are finally working together to create synergy, for everybody in the county. That needs a ride to be able to get a ride. One thing that we highlighted was that, like I said, we're not bashing LCT. So one of their strengths is that you can call them today and you can get an appointment for tomorrow. A lot of our transportation people, we can't do that with, we have to give them 2 or 3 days, or, they may say, we need a couple of days, but they're really good about accommodating, especially and I would speak for the elderly residents because that's the group that I'm in, but they're really good at accommodating us, in cases like that. And so, kudos to LCT, kudos to all of them, because I don't drive, so I love all of them. They take us, like different places to shop. I don't necessarily need to go get groceries. I live by myself, but I love shoes. So, it's nice to see all of you, but, get my shoes, they'll take me back, and I'm looking good for church on Sunday. Also, we call anybody to get a ride. Phone etiquette is 100% right up there. There's some very nice people on the other end of the lines. Like I tell them, you're so nice, I would like for us to meet for lunch one Good people, in Lorain County. I don't care what anybody say about us, we good. And they're accountable for all the people. Like I said, we were specifying that the mayors, and a lot of people that here have actually got on those buses and rode those buses. And I know for a fact, because our mayor used to be on Facebook, and I actually seen him on the bus riding. And after that, things got a whole lot better. We vote you all in and you do a wonderful job.
Yeah.
So that's what we're
To speak on that, so Sharon does do ride-alongs once a month. Our next ride-along, if you want to join us for a bus ride, it's a 2-hour bus ride. And we meet over at Meridian Plaza, which is the shopping center over here on the corner of 5th and Reed, right? 5th and Reed. June 23rd is our next one. So, which does this every month. So please, I encourage you to come ride the bus. All right. Any more? Okay. Oh, I love it.
Okay.
I love our strengths.
All right.
We're gonna move on to weaknesses now.
Yeah.
So I want to really focus on the weaknesses that we have control over. So we can't make people use transportation options. We can't control the way people think about it, but we can create improvements. So I really want you to kind of think broadly as you think about think about our weaknesses, things that we can improve as a whole. We're almost there.
That sounded like, wait, hold on, the video might have been working. Was it working?
Sherry, thank you so
No.
much for being.
It's just not.
No.
It's really quiet.
We're getting there, we're close.
What resources, so the things, the people,
Information,
information, the data that we need.
how we get that information out.
Yeah, what resources could improve performance in general? And which features make us look bad in comparison to other similar programs? So if you've ridden the RTA or if you've ridden, I think Lake County has one or something, you go to New York and ride the subway. What makes ours different and makes it kind of not look as nice? So examples, I just added a few on here. There's funding barriers and temptation. We don't always understand or communicate in the best way of where funding is coming from and how we're going to utilize it. And then awareness and support from the general population. Like I said, a lot of people don't even know that we have fixed routes, so they don't know who to call. So, okay, 10 minutes on weaknesses.
We're talking about weaknesses.
There's a lot of leadership turnover and lack of institutional knowledge. Lack of knowledge of services. It can be intimidating to use or get started. People don't know what to say or how to ask for help. Crossing counties is a barrier. Rural people have less options. There's a decreased number of routes. Visibility of signage and no idea how long you'll be waiting at a stop, which leads into lack of technology. And it can be very expensive here compared to other places. And they take cash only with exact change, or a bus pass.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else? That was a lot. I like it. Got different. Yeah.
We came up with that, the bus routes, they really need to be evaluated. Because there are, and they need to be, we take the surveys and everything, but once we get the results back from the surveys, then who puts it into play?
Yeah.
Like we've been discussing, we need to be able to get up into like Cleveland areas and stuff like that. Why can't we like coincide with RTA? That we can drop off at one point and then they can pick up at that point. And if they would just all learn how to work together within the system. And somebody mentioned that if we had bus routes that we could really depend on it, they would need to drive to work. And that could be a huge impact on our environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also sidewalks. We need sidewalks that, that we can ride, pick up buses on. And this is just what our group came up with. So, yeah.
We touched on a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're just regardless. All right. Anybody got anything different?
Veronica, I saw your hand up.
Yeah.
So one thing that was pointed out is that the transportation guide is mostly private companies, and that is a cost issue. That the private companies are more costly than like transit or other public transportation options.
Right.
Echoing what they said before, lack of information, how it works, how much, etc.
Yeah.
We also had something about, I think they touched on it briefly. The previous systems, like knowing the history of the system. That people aren't aware that the system used to be there. When we'll apply for funding, someone will ask us, well, why do you think that'll work? Well, because it did for 40 years, right? Right, so, yeah, and then also echoing, the sidewalks and bike lanes. Communities that are more rural might not have the sidewalks at all, it just don't exist.
Right.
And then areas like Lorain, that we have a lot of areas that are lower moderate incomes. Those sidewalks have not been maintained up to, an acceptable level. And then, lastly, we have, it's not right size for our community. A lot of the county, like, it has disparate needs. So, down between, Wellington and Oberlin, they have certain needs, whereas an urban area like Lorain or Elyria has different needs. Whereas a place like Avon, their needs are different as well. Maybe they want to use that for recreational uses for, dial ride, for their fixed transit, going to the stadium, etc. Oberlin, maybe they're having an arts event. Like I said, Lorain, Elyria, maybe they're trying to get their people to employment. It's just, we need to right size the system for our county.
Of course.
Awesome. Anything else?
Go ahead. Just another thing, just news routes, let's go back and put the numbers in, it went from 16 down to 6.
Yep.
We have really,
It's
4.
Oh, it's down to 4?
You got the downtown, you've got all of them.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean,
so,
you've got the 151, the 2, the 52, the downtown is 3. So.
yes, well, 16 fixed routes, down to 4 fixed routes. We have downtown Elyria Loop, and then Oberlin is on demand.
Okay, just so people know the numbers, how much we increased.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Okay, we are gonna move on to opportunity.
Well, first, you want me to go, let me show this video. Cause this might help a little bit with your SWOT analysis.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you for bringing
Yes.
that up.
Like,
That-
Yes, yes.
I don't think that's great on there. Right.
And the other thing I want on there too is that folks knowing that 211 is their site to go to get information. I think, re-emphasizing, just go to 211.
All right, I think this video is finally working so that we can hear.
Sherry, thank you so much for being here and
Oops.
talking
Wait, let me turn this up. I need to turn up my computer too.
with us. We really want to share these stories of transportation, whether it be you, your past experience, or even your relatives that struggle with transportation. When we were here before, you told us a lot of great information that I think the general public and Lorain County Transit and others need to know about. So, first of all, how long have you been? Have you been a long time Elyria resident or?
I've been a Elyria resident all my life, but I've
Okay.
moved to Cleveland. I lived in Columbus.
Where they have transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their buses run 24 hours a day. Some of them, a lot of them do. A lot of the ones that run are for work purposes that run 24 hours, so they're on a bus line. Some of them don't run 24 hours, but a lot of them do.
Yeah. So what has been your experience with, you've been to these places with transportation and now you come back to Lorain County. How has that felt to you? Or what has that experience
when
been?
when LCT first started, it was great. The buses ran all the time. They ran later. People were getting back and forth to work. They had the connector piece, like for people who had appointments in Cleveland, that you could catch the bus so far and then the Cleveland bus would come pick you up and bring you back there. And then all of a sudden, everything just changed. So now buses are running every other hour, which makes it hard for people to get, because especially in the summertime or the wintertime, they can't just sit out there. They'll either freeze to death or they'll end up having an asthma attack or a heat stroke. And then now people can't get back and forth to work because the buses only run to a certain time. So that costs a lot of jobs being lost, a lot of people being homeless, and nobody wants to ride the bus anymore.
You told us that experience about what you have to do on a daily basis to help your niece. Can you tell us?
Yeah, they don't.
And her friend also.
They don't have a bus that runs early in the morning. She has to be at Rydell at 4 in the morning. There is a bus that goes to Rydell, but that's not till like later in the afternoon. It's one bus. And then she also has a friend who lives by the college.
By Lorain County Community College.
Yeah, and there's no bus that runs out there early in the morning.
And she also works at Rydell?
Yes, and she walks every day to work. And by the time they get off at 1:30, there's not even a bus that goes past there in North Ridgeville for them to get back. So she has to walk home in the heat. And and they don't even have a bus to take my niece home. She lives out in Colonial Oaks.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no bus that runs out there. My sister, I have my sister, she's a little bit younger than me. She's trying to get a job. She lives over by the mall. And she doesn't even see buses that come over there, but maybe once or twice a day, if that.
And
But not early enough to get her to work or home from work.
And what hours are you talking about?
Well, my niece and and her friend work 4 to 1:30, 4 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. My sister works third shift, so she works 11 at night to 7 in the morning. And see, when I started working, when I came back to Elyria, they did have a bus that ran at night. They would pick everybody up by the mall. And they, like if you could find a way to the mall or whatever, they would pick you up by the mall or pick you up if they were going by where they were dropping people off. And they would actually had a bus that literally dropped people off at work, like right in front of the building.
So we're here at Hart Plaza right now. What are the struggles that you see with some of your fellow residents that they have?
That they would like to catch the bus, but they can't sit outside and wait for 2 hours for a bus. They do have Pegasus here. I've never taken it, but I see them pick people up here. But what if there are people that can't afford it? You know, are they gonna get it for free? Because people have doctor's appointments and then provide a ride. You take them to the doctors, and that's through your insurance company where they offer transportation. You're getting there on time, but you're having to wait 2 or 3 hours for a ride home, and that kills the rest of your day. What if you have another appointment you have to get to, and you're late for it, and it's a life or death appointment that you need to get to, or you have to make sure that your bills are paid, or go to the grocery store.
Right, so we're here, Hart Plaza is in Elyria. Do you see where people struggle with getting access to groceries or food?
Yeah, because the only thing is the corner store. If they don't set up Pegasus, how are they gonna get to go get food? A lot of people go to the corner store and spend their food stamps at the corner store to eat every day.
And that's expensive, isn't it?
Very expensive. It costs $6 for a sandwich there. It costs like $4, it's $6 over there for a gallon of orange juice.
Do you think you guys know about the route maps for the bus? Or, I mean, do people not know?
I don't think people know.
Okay, all right.
I don't think there's.
So that's why they're sitting out there?
Because they don't know. They don't know. There's nothing posted in here but Pegasus and what time LCT can come that you have to set up, that I don't know if it's free or if you have to pay for it, but it's only twice a month. And it takes you where you need to go, but say you're not an early riser or you forget, there's a lot of people that are, forget things, then you're screwed unless you know somebody.
So what improvements do you believe need to be made here in Lorain County regarding transportation, whether it be transit or something else?
I believe that they need to have the buses back running every hour instead of every other hour, because that would create a lot more jobs for people, and people would be able to get on their feet. They wouldn't be homeless. They could take care of their kids. They need to start earlier in the morning. They need to, run later at night, because I think the last bus is like at what, 3 or 4?
6.
At 6.
But that's, it depends on where
but
you are.
But that's not guaranteed that, okay, say I catch the bus.
4th by here.
Right, let me say, okay, I'm in Lorain and I need to catch the bus back here, but the last bus runs in Elyria. How are you gonna get home? You don't have money for a taxi. You don't have, especially if you're new to the neighborhood, how are you supposed to get around where you don't know where nothing is and you don't know nobody? Like if my niece didn't have me, she'd be literally screwed right now. And she's only 19 years old.
Yeah. So,
they need to have like meetings to educate people on, how the bus runs and, what they offer, or, other help that people can get with transportation, especially, like I said, if they're low income and they don't have the money.
What other situations do you see with your residents, your fellow residents? Is it just access to medical and food?
Well, medical, food, just getting out and being able to go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people I see sitting out here Or I don't even know a lot of people in this building because you never see them out of their apartment. Because, you know, why come out and sit in the heat or sit in the cold? And, you know, if they had a bus, they knew what time, or they could have a bus that, like in Cleveland, they have a bus, it's called a trolley, that'll come pick people up and, you know, drop them off downtown to, you know, hear the music, or when they have vendors down there and, you know, activities and stuff like that. That's important to people, especially older people, because what they want to do is just sit in their apartment and wilt away. Transportation, they can get jobs, they can go see their family, they can go to the grocery store, they can go get their medication, they can live life. To where if they don't, they're just gonna sit in their apartment and wilt away and not have communication with nobody or no contact. They're gonna become a hermit.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think that does to a person?
I think it makes them depressed. They can end up killing themselves. They can end up hurting themselves. They could just end up they could be dead in the apartment and want nobody know.
Yeah, yeah. So are any other thoughts about, you know, transportation here in Lorain County, either for yourself or?
They just need to start educating people on when the buses run. They need to start letting the buses run more. And when they do that, they need to talk with people. They need to have like monthly meetings, I think. Okay, well, we can go from this hour, from this time to this time, where we can run the buses every hour. And then let people know that, okay, well, the buses are running from 2 to 6 every hour. You know, or we can start picking up earlier in the morning. You know, start letting people know the changes that are gonna be made. And talk to more people, you know, not just in the buildings, but like outside. You know, see people that catch the buses and ask them, you know, what would be better for you if the buses ran how? You know, they need to get more acknowledgement from people. A lot of the LCTs are wheelchair accessible, but a lot of people in wheelchairs don't know that.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
Also need some of the bus stops that they do have that they still use. First of all, they have all these bus stops that people go to that aren't in use anymore. Those need to be taken down, because you could be standing out there for hours and hours and hours in the winter. What if you have your kids with you and it's dead heat, dead winter? You're standing there for nothing. And then, like I said, they have bus stops where people are standing waiting on the bus and the bus doesn't come.
Yeah.
And the buses, do they still go out to Avon?
No.
There's a lot of people that lost a lot of jobs out there too. They used to have the bus go to Avon, Oberlin, and North Ridgeville. Just like they had the Cleveland connector, the LCT.
Yes.
Yeah, because I used to have to go out there for testing. I could get on the bus, and it was nice because I could transfer. I could buy an all-day pass on the LCT, transfer to the CODA, and the CODA would honor my all-day bus pass with my transfer and give me an all-day bus pass for Cleveland. I could go kick it and go to my appointments and go see people I know out there and family and kick it, and then get back on the CODA. I think the last connector run at like 8 o'clock at night. Hop back up on the bus and come back home.
Okay, well, we appreciate your
You're welcome.
honest feedback.
So, sorry, I wish we could have shown this earlier, because I think it gave a lot of information maybe to help with that SWOT analysis. But I thought it was important, even though it was probably kind of long, we cut it down in half. For you to hear directly from somebody who, she has a car. But she's in a facility where a lot of people have to rely on some other form of transportation.
Yeah. So yeah, like Sharon said, different classes of people in our community all over with similar stories. And it's not just the bus system, sometimes it's the individual private providers as well, that they're having so many issues with. And we've had people break down and cry through telling us their stories. So it is an issue. This is a big deal to them. And it's important that we take this seriously. And we're gonna jump right in to the opportunities that we have, the responsibility to take the opportunities to improve things. So opportunities, are there gaps in service or performance that we can improve? How can we do that? What changes or resources can we use to improve weaknesses or enhance strengths? So think back to some of the things that we already do well. How can we make them even better or capitalize even more on them? What do we envision as success for the next year or the next 5 years? If you could look forward in the future in 5 years, saying this is what it should look like, what are the baby steps now that will get us to that point? Some examples, being a reliable presence in the community to educate the public and stakeholders. Awareness is still one of our #1 issues. That's where we can continue to improve. Continuously providing up-to-date transportation guides, possibly in different formats. That's something that we do well, but we can enhance and make it more available. So go ahead and get in your groups. We'll take another 10 minutes to talk about opportunities. We are gonna get back.
One of the opportunities we have is trying to get more public buy-in. The other opportunity we have is micro transit systems with communities coming together. Because, and we recently emphasized that because in this meeting, you see there are individuals who have input on various aspects of the transportation system. What we think that needs to expand becomes a group of key people who can come up with actionable things that they can execute. So to me, that needs to be a follow-up to this meeting. Key people who can actually make this come together and work one step at a time.
That's a good plug for Move Lorain County, which Alexa
I'm on the board.
and also Mike Longo and Ryan Arone, they're part of Move Lorain County, which is an advocacy organization for all things transportation in Lorain County. Speak with them about some of your wants and requests. They're having a strategic plan meeting in 2 weeks to talk about a lot of these things.
The next thing we have is how to expand how to buy bus tickets and use technologies. For like, the lady we have who's, visually impaired, maybe an app that she can download on her phone that has the routes, but using technology to help make improvements. And the other thing we need to increase grassroots effort. Has to be communication or training for the drivers and the members of the community, because if you get on the bus and you tell the driver you need to get off at a certain stop, he'll let you off. But there has to be training, they need to know that. But also the drivers need to know you may have passengers on the bus who speak English, maybe in Spanish. So there may be, we need signage on the bus that has Spanish and English so they know. And also it helps if the drivers call the stops out, because maybe a lot of people who are new in the bus don't know where those stops are. New to the community. Yeah, I think I covered everything for today.
Anybody have anything different? Want to ask Catherine?
Of course. Okay, we came up with funding issues.
Okay,
Funding issues, yeah.
opportunities, you mean, right?
Well, no, how can we regionalize the transportation between different counties like Avon, North Ridgeville, Lorain, Elyria, Oberlin? They was discussing, is there a task force that could probably be created between the quote unquote key people that they could get together and meet and decide, how we can get this transportation going for all the counties to be on one accord, rather than I get mad with LCT because I can't get riding here, so I get mad and I'm gonna move to North Ridgeville or I'm gonna move to Avon. If they could get the key people together to come up with something that we could coordinate with, like somebody said, Cuyahoga County and Lorain County, get the hospitals involved. Let's get University Hospital, to talking to St. John and West Shore, or, that they can, because we all share the same patients. And the insurance is paying the same monies to everybody. So what can we all work together to, like this is something, this ain't gonna happen next week, but you give us like between a 1 year and a 5 year plan. People don't need to just sit behind desks and make decisions. They need to get out and talk to the constituents, talk to the people, and then make their decisions rather than being, what was that, Michael? What was that? Preventing brain drain,
Preventing brain.
yes, to different cities. You know, they make money, so.
So you're saying involve stakeholders from individual communities to get
Yes.
together to discuss.
Yes,
the
they need
whole
to get together, rather than, like how we get together in this room, why can't they get together and come up with something?
And by they, you mean
The people that's in charge,
people that
Elected officials.
the elected officials, yeah, the people with the money.
And the
Even
other thing-
businesses.
Yeah,
Business
exactly,
leaders.
business leaders.
We were kind of talking through, you have your workforce, your employment. You know, these are the businesses that are in Lorain County, talking about their problem because it's their problem. You know, having, you know, people like the medical providers, you know, the hospitals and the doctors. Having conversation, because it's your problem, and then the education system, so having different. And that way we're addressing the, you know, broad, yes.
I think if you were to expand, so you have all these folks that are partnering and you have an opportunity to create a task force, but when we think about workforce, healthcare, you know, older service programs, how do we, you know, you're referencing, you have 400 surveys out of 200 something thousand people. How do we get more input? If we were gonna create routes in these various municipalities, who's working already? And who would ride the bus if there was an option to do so? So in that way, you kind of have an idea where you're creating these routes because of this demand that people have told you. This way, you're not kind of assuming putting routes together and then you're seeing empty buses go by, which causes people to make decisions to cancel routes. Right, so you have the healthcare saying, hey, we're gonna survey all the people who use our services, and I'm assuming we should get more than 400 responses to be able to say, hey, look, out of 10,000 people, here's what they told us, in a sense, if you had transportation coming to us, how many people would use it, and it allows for decisions to be made more easily.
Yeah, more information, more data. Awesome. Anything else? Yeah.
Is there a way that we can, get somebody from a different city or town or whatever, where it's already working? They're working what we're trying to do, to come in to help us focus on what we need to focus on, how we make it work, coordinate all these.
Like
things.
a consultant?
Yes, so if it's Cleveland, if it's Cincinnati, whatever city it is, that has mass transportation. And that is working to get people to where they need to be. It's a coordination of all efforts, you know, it's not just LCT, but it's the private sector, it's the public sector, it's different places, like the bus system has a fixed route, but then how do we get people from the fixed route to the outside areas where they need to go? You know, whether it's an employer who says, I have these people that work and get off at 4 o'clock in the morning, or they come at 4 o'clock in the morning. I need to have some kind of transportation that I can make sure that my employees can get here safe and they can get back. So, you know, how do we work those kinds of things out?
Meet Tarta Flex, the new same-day shared ride service serving Lucas County and Rossford. Tarta Flex expands transit access, making local connections easier and more convenient than ever. Tarta Flex provides expanded service in Lucas County and Rossford, including both direct rides within designated service zones and transfers to Tarta's fixed route buses through various connection points. When the starting point or end point of a trip is in a Tarta Flex service zone, riders 65 and up, along with paratransit eligible riders, can take Tarta Flex door to door across the service area without needing to transfer. For just $3 each way per person, you'll get a reliable ride from trained Tarta drivers in ADA accessible vehicles. No surge pricing or tipping involved. Booking a ride with Tarta Flex is simple. You can reserve a ride through the app, over the phone, or on the website. You can request your ride up to 24 hours ahead of time, or schedule pickup within an hour. Require wheelchair assistance? Let us know during booking for a smoother ride. To book through the app, simply download the Tarta Flex app through the App Store or Google Play. Create an account, find your zone on the map, and select your pickup and drop-off locations. To book over the phone, just give us a call at 419-382-9901 and speak with a Tartar representative who will help you through every step of the reservation process. For online booking, visit us at tarta.com/flex and follow the step-by-step instructions. You can pay when you book via the app, or you can pay with exact cash when your driver arrives. Make sure to be at the pickup location at your scheduled time and you'll be on your way. At TARTA, we're helping Northwest Ohio residents get closer and go farther, providing reliable connections to the people, businesses, opportunities, and events that make our region special. Download the TARTA Flex app, visit us online, or give us a call and schedule your first ride today.
Now, to offer local perspectives, we have the City of Wilson's Chief Planning and Development Officer, Roger Lentz. Roger, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. There it is. All right, so I want to talk to you about how we've applied some of this in Wilson, North Carolina, eastern North Carolina, very small North Carolina city in our eastern coastal plain, if you're not familiar with it. Today I'd like to talk about three things: RIDE, a new transit system that we've employed. I want to talk to you about how we've gotten greenways and paths going for that active transportation, and how we're really focusing on taking old roadways that really were not done in a contextual way and redo them. So let me talk about RIDE. So we have a long history of transit service in Wilson, fixed route system that covered just about 40% of the city and was really designed in a time when downtown was a center of commerce, right? You had the old tobacco warehouse jobs that people got to. You had agricultural, different jobs there that don't exist anymore. Those are in corporate parks where we have pharmaceutical companies and all that on the edge of town. So we had to rethink about how do we do transit. Our buses only ran once an hour. So I want you to take a second and imagine yourself in this situation. You're transit dependent, low income. You're at your job. Maybe you're working as a waitress or waiter or some other service job that's low pay. You have a child in the daycare. You get the call that they're sick. Okay, how do I get that child? Right? If you're transit dependent, you look at your watch, it's gonna be 45 minutes for the next bus, so you gotta wait. Get on that bus, and in Wilson, where I can get anywhere in my car in 15 minutes, I'm gonna have to make a transfer at the downtown station, get another line. 40 minutes later, I've arrived at the daycare, so now I'm over an hour and a half in, right? Get the child, I know that you gotta get him to the doctor. Maybe I can walk to the doctor, but there's not a sidewalk. So I've got to get down there, do that journey. Then I got to wait for the next bus when that appointment's done to get home. Maybe I have to stop at the pharmacy. All said and done, that's probably a 3 or 4 hour issue of your day. You don't have sick leave or leave time, you have not gotten paid. Can we do better for that individual? And I think that's where RIDE comes in. So RIDE is the mobility as a service that was just discussed, where you can use an app, and understanding that not everybody can afford this, a phone number you can call, unlike Uber or Lyft, where if you don't have a smartphone, you're locked out of that service. And we were able to cover not 40% of the city, but 100% of the city with transit service. And we're able to do that with a 15-minute average wait time. So you need that trip, you go on the phone, or you call the call center, you get that trip in 15 minutes, you're taken to the door of the daycare, do what you need there, you get home, and that journey that issue that took 4 hours of your day is now an hour and a half, which is a lot of time for that person that has to deal with that situation that's transit dependent. And I think that's really critically important. And the fact that we were able then to take the same resources that we had for fixed route and cover an entire city, now I'm connecting people to jobs that were out of reach for them because they couldn't afford a car, maybe they couldn't drive. So we've been doing this for nearly a year and a half. We're over 150,000 trips. Last week we did 3,500 trips. The fixed route before that was 1,450 trips. And during the pandemic, when we had to take the fixed routes down, we were only doing 300 trips. So even during a pandemic, our transit ridership went up 140% over fixed route. So it's been a real game changer in Wilson, and we're very proud of it. We've gotten recognition from FTA. We've been able to get grants to extend our hours. And we were able to use it to provide vaccine trips to folks when we did that for free with the help of our partners at NCDOT. But what's most proud about it is the change that has been made in people's lives. And this during COVID, right? So that individual I'm telling you, and our average rider makes less than $25,000 a year. We've changed their economics. In that situation, that person, that parent, might have had to get a taxi cab, make multiple trips, and spend $40 or half their income that day. On ride, they could do that for less than 10 on those multiple legs. That's a big deal. The other thing that we've been able to do is connect people to work. So these pharmaceutical jobs that were out of reach for people, the number one thing they said that was a problem was transportation. People did not have a reliable way to get to work. We've changed that. 48% of our folks said this service has enabled them to get a job or keep a job where transportation was a barrier. And I think that's really important. I won't read all the statistics, but I think it's worth noting that talking to your customers to find out how the service is going, how the service can be improved is critically important. And in our COVID world, I don't think we'll ever go back to fixed route, right? This has proven to be exceptionally great service, exceptionally well received. And I'm not sure of a transit company, or transit system in the country that's had 140% growth over what was pre-pandemic. So we're very, very proud of what we've done in Wilson. Well, I think the bones of our city are set up for that 15-minute model, but obviously a lot of disinvestment in some of the central areas, not unlike a lot of smaller towns and cities in North Carolina that are kind of outside the metro, especially in eastern North Carolina. I think that I too think, fixed route and, what Charlotte's done. We used to work in the Charlotte area, what Charlotte's done with light rail, and that's exactly what they need to be doing. But there's still even transit deserts in that model where I think microtransit can fill in. And, now, let's be honest, we're doing this like transit, so the city's putting in a lot of money, DOT's putting in a lot of money. $1.50 fare is not recovering the cost, but, when you start thinking about a city that's, 25% poverty rate, transportation as a barrier, cities aren't in the social service business in North Carolina. That's a county function. I think this is a perfect way for the city to do its role in connecting people to economic opportunity. And, while I think the county van systems are a lifeline and they're very important, but, if you just had to go get a gallon of milk, right? I need a gallon of milk. We're all going to go out and get milk and bread after this because the snow's coming, right? Imagine, I didn't call a day ahead to make that reservation on the county van system. So you got to plan so far ahead that you just can't make that work. And so I think that's what microtransit's done in Wilson, is let people be spontaneous and get the things that they need. And one of the quotes, I didn't read verbatim, but if you caught it on the slide, was, we have some blind population that basically said, to change my life to be able to essentially compete with someone that had access to a private car. And I think that's really important.
So once again, as Sarah was mentioning before, I'm having ride-alongs once a month. Generally, they're the fourth Friday of every month, and they rotate between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. because those are two different routes that happen. So I think I have about 3 people coming with me so far, 3 or 4 coming on the 23rd. I could take one or two more people there. But this is on the social media page for us. If you go to Lorain County Mobility Management, and it's also in our newsletter. So we've been adding everybody's email address to our newsletter. So you should see that there. Or you can let me know today if you're interested. And this is a picture of me and Sherry. We went on the bus together. But want to thank you for coming. Don't want to hold you. I wish we could have gotten to the threats today, because we had such great energy in the room, but don't want to hold you guys over, because I think we've been for another 20 minutes. But thank you, everybody, for your input. Glad you could come and.